So when I first got out the Greyhound, I'm going to go into some very specific details. There was a black man walking with a white woman that looked like she was on some drugs. He said she was on some drugs and that she wasn't his girlfriend on Trinity Avenue when you make a right off of Forsyth Street when you get off the Greyhound. And the man told me that I could come to his house. He was like, hey, he saw me with my little bag. He was like, hey, you need somewhere to stay. I already knew it was a setup. But I was like, maybe Atlanta gonna look out for me. They know what time it is and they gonna help me. Because I had been all over social media, all over Houston. And the man told me I could come to his house. I came with him to Aspen Court. He was staying with a real old lady saying that was his mom. And then his brother somewhere in the house every now and then. So he told me I can go in the room, and the heat was up to 90 degrees in the house. It was drying out my baby bump so bad that I had to say something. The man said that he had to go somewhere and left me in the house. I only stayed one night at first. I was calling all of these shelters that I had written down. It was like 80 to 100 different organizations that help women get into shelters. And they all told me they were not accepting. They told me they were booked, and I'm thinking it was just because I had just came down on such short notice that they didn't help me. I didn't have much food inside of the man's home, but I had eaten well when I had got down here, so my baby bump was full. So by this point in these photos, you see that my baby bump is significantly smaller. I was very frustrated. I was telling myself I was probably gonna leave the man's house and just not come back because the heat was too hot and it was drying out my baby bump. And he was saying that his mother was elderly and she liked to keep the heat up that hot. And I even cut it off at one point. The man ended up telling me that I had to leave his home. I left and I tried to come back to his house, and he was telling me that he would be gone out of town and making excuses. So I wasn't able to get into a shelter.